Welcome to Lesson 10. This is an exercise tutorial where we'll apply the knowledge we've learned so far. Let's go to the Home tab. I'm going to work on a mechanical drawing. Let's activate the Line tool. Ortho mode is toggled off currently. Now I'm going to create the approximate shape of my part. Continue with an arc now. Let's say 180 degrees at about 135 from 0. And let's select the Line tool again. Snap to this endpoint, and again continue with an arc. Now snap here to close. Since I've used a line and not a polyline, I've got 6 separate entities. To join these together, I'm going to apply Coincident Constraints. We've gone to the Parametric tab. Let's select the Coincident Constraint on the Geometric panel. Instead of specifying the first point, I'm going to right-click and select Auto Constraint. Now I'm going to Window select my objects. Right-click to finish the selection and execute the command. And our coincident constraints have been applied. Next, let's apply some horizontal constraints. By the way, if you don't see some constraints, click this arrow to launch the Constraint Settings dialog window. On the Geometric tab, we can check the constraints we want to see. Let's cancel out. I'm going to apply a parallel constraint now between these two lines. We need to make these two lines parallel as well. Before I do so, let me show you something. I'm going to select this line and move it a little just to make it more obvious that these two lines are not parallel. Let's activate the parallel constraint. Select this line and this line. Notice the line I selected first stays stationary and the line I selected second moves. Let's undo that. And let's try it again. This time I'll select this line first, and this line secondly. Let's apply vertical constraints. Rather than selecting an entity, I'm going to apply it to 2 points. Right-click, select 2 points, and now make my selection, first point and second point. And the vertical constraint is applied. Let's move to dimensional constraints, linear. Select my first point, and my second point, and place it here. Let's enter a value of 5 and click outside. Now I'm going to use an angular constraint. Select the arc, place it about here, value 180 degrees, and let's click outside to register. Let's reposition the arc and reposition the vertical dimension. Okay, let's place another angular constraint between these two lines. Here and here. Let's say 135 degrees. This arc also has a 180-degree value, meaning the angle between these 3 points is 90 degrees. So let's place it. We select the angular dimension, right-click, and select 3 points. Now we select the first vertex, this point. This one is our second, and lastly, this one. And let's enter 90 degrees here. Press Enter. Next, I'm going to place an align dimension between these 2 points, the first point and the second point. Let's type D1 and press Enter. AutoCAD automatically finishes my input. Next, let's place a diameter dimension for this arc. Here we have the option to use radius or diameter. I'll use diameter. Select the arc. And again, I'll type D1 and press Enter. Now let's dimension this line first point, and the second point. Place it about here. We'll type D1 multiplied by 2. Enter. Let's dimension this line now. An aligned dimension. Now our first point is selected, and our second point. Let's place it about here. Type D3 and press Enter. Lastly here, let's place a fixed constraint to restrain our part from movement. The line is highlighted when I mouse over it. I'm restricting the endpoint of this line. If I mouse over this line, it's the angular dimension that's highlighted. I can select a coincident constraint as well. Let's click here. My fixed constraint becomes attached to the rest of the constraints belonging to this line. Okay, we're done. Let's try to grab and drag the geometry just to be sure that we've constrained everything. And as you can see, nothing moves. Okay, looks good. In my next lesson, I'm going to create a slot and apply constraints to it. This concludes Tutorial 10, the first part of this exercise.